Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Healed with Seth. And I am Seth. It's a great day in the neighborhood. Hopefully, everything is good with you. If this is your first time tuning in, I'll tell you a little bit what Healed is. This is the place where we can have candid, transparent conversations about life. Okay. And it's either me giving you skills or things that may have worked for me or other people, or in fact, like today, we had guests on, and they would share their stories about traumatic things that may have happened in their lives. However, they did what they had to do to get on the road of healing. So again, I want to welcome you guys to this. So a little bit about how you can contribute if you appreciate this. I have a Patreon, okay? The patreon.com /healed is where you can get exclusive content and some also training as little as $4 a month, ladies and gentlemen. And that is nothing. I promise you, some people spend more than that just blinking their eyes. Okay. Did you see how much eggs cost these days? It's crazy. I don't know what's going on. But if you're going to do anything and to contribute to anything that is helpful for individuals, consider that. As a matter of fact, we had a show on Patreon for the Healed Circle that talked a little bit about men's health. Now, the part one, we talked about young men's mental health, and then part two will be available soon. As a matter of fact, it should be available not too long after this episode. As a matter of fact, let's do this. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of part one.
I can't connect with my mom, I definitely would say I disconnect, because the moment I do something, the yelling starts. And that's all I hear. So I don't do anything. I'm invisible. I don't talk to her. Then you have the other ones that just stay in trouble because they are seeking some form of attention. Doesn't matter how they get it, they just need that attention.
Even though your child is a part of you and have certain, look like you, got the same kind of walk, maybe crooked smile, this is still another individual that is born and raised in a different time. It's kind of hard to expect your child to be, to be willing or have the same type of work ethic that you have when they don't have a real reason to. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was an outstanding show. And my guest was Andre Charlie. He resides in Detroit, Michigan as a mental health profession. And he gave an example of what kids and young men say, like, hey, I go home and then my mother is yelling at me. But keep in mind, we're all going through something. We're on this spinning rock together. So what we're going to talk about today is when life hits you and it's time to make the decision to pivot, right? When do you make that pivot? And today, ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Mark Bates, he is an outstanding individual. I had the privilege of being on his show, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But let me tell you, most importantly, about him. So he's a podcaster and a content creator living in Alberta, ladies and gentlemen. And what he did was he shelved his career as a pipe fitter in the Alberta energy industry, right, in favor of finding his path, right, to fulfilling his life and being financial free, right? How many of you want to do that but kind of afraid to do it? This gentleman did it. Okay, now Mark spends his time talking to artists, content creators like yourself, and musicians and other entrepreneur visionaries who post a pandemic, right, are finding new and exciting ways to turn what they're passionate about into income and generating projects and endeavors. But ladies and gentlemen, he has a very outstanding story. So help me to welcome Mr. Mark Bates.
Thank you, Seth. Thanks for the great introduction. Good to see you again, man.
Hey, man. How are you doing? No problem.
I'm real good.
Good, man. So look, welcome to Healed, man. And it is an honor, right, to have you on. And I love your platform. And look, as you introduce yourself, tell individuals about your podcast in your own words.
Well, my podcast called The Mark Bates Project So in the past couple of years, I started working with some independent musicians and helping them release singles, and realized how many online tools there were now for anyone with a passion or a creative side who wanted to maybe earn a little bit of money off their craft or off their passion. And I think with what's available online now, there's no reason any one of us aren't able to do that.
I love it. I love it. And you're absolutely right. So this gave everyone an opportunity, if they took it, right, to be better versions of themselves with the whole world slowing down. You agree with that?
Totally, totally.
Yeah. So anyway, brother, we had a very good conversation after me being on your show, and you say, "Hey, look, I dealt with some things myself." And when I listened to you, I said, "You know what? That is something that not only I would love to hear, but I'm sure that the audience will love to hear that as well." So, if you don't mind, man, let's talk about your your the point in your life when you were at the lowest. What did that look like for you?
Well, through a childhood, a troubled childhood, really, I had some behavioral issues, and because of that, not a real close father-son relationship with my dad. I love my father very much, but it was more a troubled child, disciplinarian father kind of relationship. He was just trying to keep me in line the best way he knew how. Uh, but like I said, we didn't have that closeness, so I went and found acceptance in places I shouldn't, right? People that weren't doing the healthiest of things, but if I joined in the circus, I was accepted as one of the clowns, right? So
Wow. Mm.
right, so I mean that kind of led to um, a teenage lifetime of petty crime, theft, drug dealing, this and that. And throughout all that, heavy involvement in the party scene kind of blossomed into full-blown addiction.
Oh wow.
So I think before the addiction there was definitely pre-existing mental health issues that at the time maybe it just wasn't being detected, whatever. um But regardless, at a certain point, I recognized this and chose to medicate in unhealthy ways. So that was kind of a spin out, ups and downs for the next 20 or so years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. But there were long periods of a great life, but I was always walking on a line, right?
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't doing the healing. I wasn't resolving the issues that were causing me to self-medicate in the first place.
Correct.
Um, so like I say, during the pandemic, working with musicians, um, I was involved in a business partnership that fell apart in part due to my addiction. Um, and I knew at that point that while I had a support system around me, it'd be in my best interest to go to rehab.
Love
Uh,
it.
so I did that, and I went into rehab with a plan because, I mean, for anyone who's been in the 12-step rooms, it sounds cliche when you hear people talk about, I know I have one more bender in me, but I don't think I have one more recovery. I was really at that point. Um, I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I knew that if I didn't make a change, I was going to die.
Oh, wow.
I have a beautiful daughter, a 16-year-old daughter, and I have a lot of good people around me. So I wasn't about to let that happen. So I went to rehab with a plan. Uh, After getting out of there, because things didn't happen as quickly as I guess I would have liked, was a lot of depression, anxiety, and kind of fell into that hole, um, which resulted in a short hospital stay, which was ended up being extremely beneficial because once the fog cleared, while I was in there. I was able to continue on and actually put pen to paper and continue on with my plan. And because of my experience with the recording studio, uh, sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Because of my experience at the recording studio, I knew I wanted to do something creative.
Mhm.
I needed a creative outlet. And so that was kind of habit number one for me. I have plans to publish a YouTube channel this year, which will be addiction and mental health related.
Mhm.
Um, and it's basically going to be focused on the habits that I'm forming that I've found assist me in maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
So I like that, and I like the fact that you realize that you had to replace that habit with something positive and beneficial. So that's good, man. So look, let me go back a little bit, man,
Sure.
to the self-love. So prior to the show, you talked about how you had to learn how to love yourself. So what do you think, or if you can recall, when was that moment when you said, okay, I don't know what I'm doing to myself, I'm not loving myself, so how do I, you had to learn how to love yourself better. What was it that gave you a chance to, bring that to light?
I'm not 100% sure what the catalyst was, but I do remember the evening that I made the decision, and I think it was just uh, a moment of clarity where I realized that death was a real possibility if I didn't turn around.
Mhm, mhm. There we go. Right. Man, that's a scary thing. But you know what, man? I'm a firm believer that God will throw pebbles at you to try to get your attention. And every once in a while, he'll throw a brick, right? And hopefully that brick is not detrimental, that you can get up from, and rub your head and say, okay, I got it. You know what I mean? Man, that's crazy. So, man, that rehab situation. Now, who was it that recommended you to go to it? Or did you just say, hey, look, I'm on my last leg?
Actually, it was one of the artists I was working with and one of my business partners at the time.
Mhm.
Had both been through the same center, and we're happy with the services they received there, and highly recommended it. And basically, for me, it was the nearest option. When I made the decision, I knew those two were fresh out.
Mhm.
I contacted them. I said, "Listen, I'm ready."
Wow, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so you had to have a sponsor. Did you have a sponsor as you were going through?
No, no, they do recommend a sponsor in the 12-step program.
Mhm.
Um, I don't strictly adhere to the 12-step program.
Mhm.
Um, I but I guess I treat it like I treat anything else. I take what works for me and I leave the rest.
Uh-huh.
Um, I find I find and this is me speaking for myself strictly, that if I get too heavy into the 12-step culture, it's actually a trigger for me.
Mm. Wow. So explain a little bit more about that. And that's some good self-awareness to know
Yeah.
that. But what does it do to you? What do you mean by that as far as a trigger?
Um, there's a lot of rhetoric and cliches and when an addict is first cleaning up, these are things that need to be heard, need to be pounded into their heads.
Mhm.
But after a long period of sobriety or being clean, it can start to get a little hard on the head.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people try and put it on you that, oh, that's your addict telling you that you're okay without the program. Well, no, the program's kind of
Mhm.
pushing me in that direction, and I need to because really it becomes a heavy habit.
Mm.
And I think there's more to life than sitting in a room every night.
Understand? No, no, no. I get it. I get it. I get it. And the good thing too, man, about and healing is that there's no one way to get there. And the most that you can do is understand you. So now let's go into the accountability piece, man.
Mhm.
Um, when did you have that conversation with yourself and say, look, Mark, this isn't working? All right, this isn't working. Like, I think I'm okay, but I'm truly not like I have more to live for, right? And
Um,
had to stop,
it,
you know.
it was one of those situations where um, I found myself doing the things I told myself forever I would never do in the name of getting my hands on my drugs.
Mhm,
You know, manipulating family and friends.
mhm.
Um, there's debts that are still being paid because of it, but you know, I I didn't want to be that guy.
That's right. Wow. Wow. And then especially you say you have a 16-year-old daughter, correct?
I do.
Wow. And I mean, so how, was that more of a fuel to help you to get on the straight and narrow, right? With
Definitely,
your daughter?
definitely. We were a little bit estranged for a year or so,
Mhm,
um, because I had to work on me.
mhm.
Um, you know, there were people around and things around that weren't necessarily a good idea for her to be around.
That's right.
Um, and that well, thinking back now, yeah, that was definitely one of the things that sparked the decision.
Right. Now, did you guys ever have a conversation about everything, or are you just waiting, or how was this
Do you
work?
know what? God love her, Seth. I brought it up with her a couple of times, and it was more of a sorry, I'm fighting a cold. My voice a
Okay.
little off. Uh, it was more a case of me being apologetic and saying, "Listen, babe, I know you've probably noticed Dad ain't himself lately.
Hmm.
You know," and I've always been open with her my whole life. She knows about my past struggles.
Hmm.
So I was open and honest with her that I was struggling. Daddy had to work on himself for a little bit, and we're uh, we're back to close as can be now.
That's good. That's real good, man. That's good. I mean, and you know what? It's so crazy, man, because in the children's eyes, I can only imagine we're like their first superheroes. You
Hmm.
know, we're their first superheroes, and you know, when we're not there, it's like we're shaping their reality of the first men that they would love,
Yeah,
right? And so you not being there and not trying, if you weren't, obviously you did, but for those out there that's not, and it's so detrimental, but at the same time you have to find the way to continue to reach out, to your children. And
definitely,
because
definitely.
so the thing is that even if they don't understand, they still will remember, you know.
See, I'm very fortunate because she understood.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's good. That's real good. That is
Yeah.
so good, man. That's awesome. So now let's talk about the time when you were in the hospital, man. You said that you were in a cloudy state. What did that mean?
Uh, the uh, the depression felt like it was becoming too much, and you know, I didn't feel safe with myself, so I made the decision to seek help.
Mhm,
Yeah, it was it was actually a place I ended up um, close to 20 years ago when I first cleaned up off of the my drug of choice. I was addicted to crack cocaine,
mhm.
and yeah, it was the same thing as what happened back then. And you know, I had to make sure I knew I was in bad shape. I knew what I was feeling was temporary, but to be 100% safe, I knew I needed to be somewhere.
There you go. Mhm, mhm. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on Healed with Seth, and I have the great pleasure of having Mark in here in the building. This is outstanding, man. I love your transparency and understanding that, man, you can't quit quitting, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, and for me, what I'm doing now is part of the accountability.
Yes.
Um, I'm accountable to the people who I'm telling I'm going to be releasing episodes. I'm
Mhm,
accountable to myself to not disappoint myself and not put in an honest effort.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and the transparency, you know, in active addiction, you lie. You lie, you manipulate. I want to be the exact opposite of that, right? I want to be an open book.
Mm-hmm.
I want to conduct myself in a way that I don't have to lie.
There you go. There you go. And I love that, man. And with that too, people are going to respect that. They may not like it, but they at least respect it. And you know what I think too, man? A lot of times individuals that's not addicted to, let's say a substance or whatever, but they lie because they don't want to disappoint people. You can't avoid that.
Yeah.
Right. You can't avoid that. People are going to be disappointed because we're different people, but if you know that you are who you are and you know what you don't want to do anymore and you're carrying yourself that way, I think that's extremely noble, right? Extremely noble.
And that's where I was at. I knew who I was in my heart, but
Mhm.
I was watching myself act like this completely different person.
Yeah. Now, how did that feel? Wasn't that weird and kind of trippy? Because it's like you see what you're doing. It's like you're a fly on the wall looking at yourself. And it's like, okay, because I need whatever this is, I can't stop.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And so addiction is closely related to obsessive compulsive disorder. And I mean, you obsess about the substance and then you can compulsively act on that obsession. So, I mean, there were times where, that this is the last little bit I'm doing. And then the next thing I know, I'm 7 more bags in.
Wow.
And don't know where that time or money went, right? Like it consumes you.
Wow. I'm gonna tell you this, man. I've known individuals to have the same type of addiction, but never have I had that explained to the magnitude that you just gave, because it's a deeper level than just, oh, I have to have it. It's now, this is a disorder. Like, I really do need help. So it's a highly addictive drug. Okay. But then once you're on it, it's not just, okay, I can just get off of it. You're losing, like you said, time and space. Like you're not there, right?
Yeah, no, not there at all. Not there at all. And I mean, literal missing time where, okay, 1 minute the bank account's at this and the next minute there's nothing in it. I'm feeling like a bag of garbage and I got people calling, asking where their money is. Like it's a scary way to live.
Wow, man. Oh my goodness, man. You can only imagine, especially if you don't really know, like, but you don't know, like, wait a minute, I thought I had a grasp on this thing. And every time you prove yourself wrong.
Yeah.
Right. You prove yourself wrong. And especially, so think about it. Were you ever in a case when you were, you were either doing the drugs or thinking about it, getting off and say, look, I'm bigger than this, and you just kept letting yourself down? Like, how many did that even cross your mind? Like, hey, this is nothing.
Every day.
Really?
Every day. Because I knew I couldn't stop even if I wanted to. Not by myself.
Right. But did you ever get to the point where you were lying to yourself, like saying that, oh, well, I can get off anytime I want to?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when the recreational use, but I know that's where the downward spiral begins, is starting to trust myself with recreational use again, because that's out of the question for me. I had to come to know that. I had to come to accept that.
So it wasn't not that, but this, it was cold turkey, had to be nothing.
Yes.
Wow. Well, man, first of all, I want to say thank you, right, for just for being transparent, man, and being open. And not just that, man, just loving yourself enough to say, I know what I can't do. A lot of this self-reflection is self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Just being aware, like, okay, I can't do that. Right. we see this. I can't do it. Not only can I not do it, I can't even get close to it. Okay, because I'm just not wired that way. But I truly do appreciate the fact that you have rewired your addiction to something positive and that can help other individuals.
And that there is the whole reason behind my wanting to launch a YouTube channel, because you literally do have to rewire your brain.
Yes.
You have to develop new habits.
Yes.
So that's basically what I want to do. I want to share the habits I've been developing that have been helping me.
Man, that's so outstanding, man. That's outstanding. So look, man, I just want to give you an opportunity, man, to talk about what would you say have been one of your best guests so far on your podcast and why?
Oh, I would have to say a gentleman named Nathan Neergaard. He goes by Nate Trash.
Okay.
He's actually from where I was living for the past 10 years.
Okay.
And his family didn't have a great name in town. There was a lot of crime and guns and drugs involved in that circle.
Okay.
But he got out when he was younger, and he's now actually a content creator. Check out Trash Talk with Nate Trash. He's basically the face of Western Canadian death metal now. Excuse me. But yeah, I had him on and let him go in a story up until now, and he spoke for 2 hours. I had to break it into 2 episodes. But what made it really cool for me was how thankful he was at the chance to finally get his story out.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, yeah, so awesome. That's probably what made that my favorite. There you go. Favorite episode.
That's it, man. And you know what? I believe that's the whole point, in my opinion, about podcasting. It's more than just having people on and just talking and just talking heads, but you're listening to individuals' lives, right? And you hearing it from their own mouths.
Yes.
Their opinions, they're right, wrong, or different, whatever the case is, right? You can judge that later, but the fact is you're hearing it from them. And then with it being on your platform, you have the opportunity to host like a piece of time. You know what I mean? To grab a piece of time that's going to be timeless, right? This is going to go on. This is history. Right?
That is what I love about the online space. And and you know what, really, I shouldn't just narrow it down to one. All of my episodes have been my favorite because I've learned something from all of them.
There you go.
I'm a brand new content creator, and that the Mark Bates project is also documenting this whole project of mine of reinventing myself and of choosing to do what makes me happy instead of working a job I hate or just suffering through mental health and self-medicating instead of going to see my doctor. And it's usually a simple fix.
Right. Wow, man. Well, I want to thank you, brother. Thank you for spending this time with me, man.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, be on the lookout, man. Your book is in the
mail.
Awesome.
I look forward to getting it.
Yeah, you're gonna like it, man. It's a good book, and
awesome.
It's just it is nothing new. It's just a different way of understanding it, right? So it's good. But man, thank you for being on. Don't go anywhere. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Healed with Seth the Speaker and our amazing guest, Mark Bates, y'all, all the way from Alberta. Oh, that's nice. That's real nice. But ladies and gentlemen, the thing is this: no matter what, whatever happened to you is not your fault. May not have been your fault. However, what you do today is your responsibility. Never, ever, ever forget that. And I will be seeing you soon. Don't forget to go and check out the last episodes and few other episodes on patreon.com/healed. All right. You enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon.